Hi everyone, welcome back to the Property Finance Podcast, and today we're carrying on our series of FAQs, and this is one that we get from a lot of our development clients, which is, why do I need to pay for a quantity surveyor to come out to my site every month or every drawdown? And the reason being is because, well, essentially they're providing a service. And what it is from the lender's perspective, so this is talking about sort of larger developments and new builds, large commercial conversions. What will happen is the lender will hire an external quantity surveyor. That quantity surveyor will then come in and do an initial cost analysis. So they will come in, they'll check your build costs, make sure that they're happy with them, make sure you haven't missed anything. It's a pretty important element of the deal, to be fair. And what the QS's job is to essentially check over those build costs and make sure that if for whatever reason you can't complete that development, could the lender take over and deliver for a similar price? And what will happen is more than likely, the client will maybe go in with build costs of £130, £140 a square foot. The QS will then come back at 150, 160 because they have to be pessimistic. So there will normally be an increase at that stage. Now, if you're working with a good lender, a lender who understands development finance, there may be some negotiation on that. They may look at it and say, well, actually, we can see you've delivered for X amount on your previous 3-4 developments, whatever it may be. So actually, we're quite happy to kind of meet in the middle. What happens at that point is that once they've created that report, is they'll then create maybe a drawdown schedule with your contractor, which will then give an idea of, right, I need these drawdowns at these points. What then happens is they come out every single drawdown, so maybe once a month, twice a month, once every 2 months, whatever it may be. They will come out at the point of drawdown. They will analyse what you're drawing down. They'll say, right, okay, yeah, you've done X, Y, Z. That's fine. Within the QS report, they were detailed as X amount of money. So we will then release that money because you've done those works or you've ordered those materials or those materials are on site. And the reason why that costs is because obviously they've got to travel, they've got to come out, they've got to do those checks. But from a cost perspective, from the developer's point of view, you want to see that as a benefit to your development, because whilst that QS is sort of employed and acting on behalf of the lender, they're the ones who are going to know if there's something going wrong in your development, because they're the ones who are going to have the closest control over your build costs. So they're going to see all of your build costs throughout the entirety of the build. They're going to be able to see where your cash flow pinch points are coming. They're going to be able to give you the heads up if they say, oh, you've taken a bit much here, or you've not taken enough there, or there's something missing here, or we think you should have done this already by now. Or they're going to have a pretty good idea of what's going on. So although they're going to cost you maybe £600, £700, £800 per drawdown, possibly a bit more depending on the QS, that needs to be seen as an essential cost within that development, because if you didn't have that, you're losing that extra set of eyes. And the thing is, they're impartial as well, or from your point of view, they're impartial. Obviously, they're working on behalf of the lender, but from your perspective, they're impartial. They're not acting for you. They're not trying to please you. They're trying to please someone else. So you are going to get the most pessimistic and most realistic view of your development, which is very, very beneficial. So don't see it as a wasted cost. The other thing to keep in mind as well is that depending on the size of the development, you might be able to get away with what's known as an asset manager or a light touch QS. So what happens is, if you're doing a small renovation or a small conversion and maybe only borrowing 100 grand, 200 grand to do those works, the lender might actually be comfy enough to say, well, look, we've got an in-house asset manager. They're going to cost significantly less than a quantity surveyor. And it may be that they're better suited for your project. So depending on the size of the project, it's worth keeping in mind that you might not need a full-blown QS. You might only need an asset manager. And when it comes to light touch monitoring, as lenders will call it, what that means is that they may not need to send a QS out to site every drawdown. What they might do is, and for example, we've got this on a couple of sites at the moment, is actually it can just be done via photos, videos, maybe a video call walking around site, for example, as opposed to a full-blown site visit. So it does make it a little bit easier for the developer, and obviously the cost is reduced significantly for the developer as well. So hopefully that clarifies some of the reasons behind why you need the QS and why there is a cost associated to them, and hopefully you can see the benefits of keeping that QS on site. Thank you very much for listening. Catch you on the next one.